Hi everyone, these are the notes for rhyme and slant rhyme, also known as sound effects in literature part 2. The reason these are sound effects in literature part 2 and alliteration and cacophony are sound effects in literature part 1 is that rhyme and slant rhyme and alliteration and cacophony are all ways that a writer can use these sounds in a piece of writing to influence how the reader feels when they're reading it and hearing it in their head. So at the top of these notes, you're going to see the same information that you saw at the top of the alliteration and cacophony notes. I'm reminding you that writing we feel is literature generally is strong in 4 different areas. It's original, it's emotionally moving, it's carefully crafted, and it's deep, has a deeper meaning. I put in bold here emotionally moving, just like I did in the alliteration and cacophony notes, because rhyme and slant rhyme affect how emotionally moving something that you read is. They add emotion. And this blank that you see here is the same as the blank in the previous set of notes. One way that literature can be emotionally moving is in the sounds of the words themselves. So we're talking, as I said, about the sounds of the words. And the first thing I'm going to talk to you about here is rhyme. I think we all know what rhyme is. So rhyme is another way to add emotional power to language besides just alliteration and cacophony. What I want you to know about rhyme is that the human brain loves rhyme. You can often make someone laugh just by creating a rhyme that's unexpected. Little kids are delighted to read books that have rhyme in them. The music that we listen to on the radio, the songs we like have rhyme. The human brain likes rhyme. And I want you to think about rhyme in literature as adding sweetness. That's why I put a picture here of this bowl of sugar cubes. If a piece of literature is a food, rhyme is like adding sugar to that food. And that's true even if you're putting rhyme in a poem that is sad or a poem that's like bittersweet, like sad and happy at the same time, or a poem that's kind of dark. It's always adding sweetness. So most of the time, the effect of that just makes the writing more sweet and beautiful. Just like in most foods, if you add sugar, it's nice, just makes the food sweeter. So if you add sugar to muffins, you get even sweeter muffins. And if you add sugar like to ham, you get like delicious, tasty ham with like a sugar glaze on it or something. So a happy poem with rhyme in it becomes even happier and more beautiful. A sad poem, when you add rhyme, becomes sad and beautiful, which, if you think about it, is totally a thing. If you've ever read a book or seen a movie and there's a scene where 2 people love each other, but like one of them has cancer and they're going to die, the first person is like, I love you so much, I'll never forget you. And the second person is like, I love you too. And it's like this super sad moment and you're crying, but then the music in the background isn't like scary music. Usually the music in the background is like beautiful string music. So the emotion that is being created is this feeling of sadness, but it's like beautiful sadness, which is kind of odd, but it's totally a thing. So there are, however, some times where a writer adds rhyme to a piece of creative writing, and even though it's adding sweetness, the effect is creepy because there are some things that the human brain just doesn't want to be sweet. Sort of like you don't want sugar on your broccoli or in your gravy. And in a piece of scary or angry writing, you generally don't want sweetness because it's creepy. So I'll show you here a few examples of adding rhyme to a happy poem to make it even happier and sweeter, adding rhyme to a sad poem to make it sad and beautiful, and then adding rhyme to an angry poem that the effect is creepy because we don't like having sweetness in our angry writing. So here's this poem. This is just an excerpt. These are the first 4 lines. This is a poem by Anne Bradstreet. She was a Puritan poet in the 1600s. So she's writing to her husband, and she's saying, you know, if there were ever 2 people who were like 2 souls in, or 1 soul in 2 bodies, like if there are ever 2 people that were like soulmates, it's us. And if there was ever a man in the world who his wife loved him, that's you. And if there were ever any woman in the world who was happy about her husband, like I'm that woman more than any other woman. But when she says it with rhyme, it sounds prettier. If ever 2 were one, then surely we. If ever man were loved by wife, then thee. If ever wife was happy in a man, compare with me, ye women, if you can. See, it makes it feel more elegant. It makes it feel more important and more pretty to put it in rhyme. Here's the first 2 stanzas. Here are the first 2 stanzas of a very sad poem called Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night. There are several other stanzas. This is a very famous poem. And in this poem, the poet is saying to his father who's sick and dying, he's saying, Dad, please don't just lay down and die. Please fight it. Please be mad about it. That's what do not go gentle into that good night means. Like, don't just go like a wimp into death, like fight it. But here, when he says it with rhyme, it makes it like sad, but also beautiful. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. It's got some loveliness there, right? Even though at the same time it's sad. And the rhyme is what adds the loveliness. There's another example here. This is the last stanza of one of my favorite sad but beautiful poems. You can Google it if you like. Here's a poem that I think some kids are actually doing. And this is a poem that is sort of angry and bitter. So when we add rhyme, instead of making it beautiful, it's adding sweetness, but the effect is creepy because we don't like angry, bitter things to also be sweet. So this is where a woman who is an outcast is comparing herself to a witch. And she's, saying, I've been that woman who is a possessed witch, like riding through the sky, thinking of evil things, having like deformed body and like not being a normal woman. But here when she says it with rhyme, it sounds kind of creepy. I have gone out, a possessed witch, haunting the black air, braver at night, dreaming evil. I have done my hitch over the plain houses, light by light. Lonely thing, 12-fingered, out of mind. A woman like that is not a woman quite. I have been her kind. It's like gives you chills a little bit, right? That's the first of 3 stanzas. If it reminds you, if you're familiar with the play Macbeth by William Shakespeare, it might remind you of this very famous scene with the 3 witches. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Like that's not supposed to be delightful. It's supposed to be creepy. So if you have rhyme in your poem, in most cases, the effect is it adds beauty. There are a few of you who are doing angry or bitter pieces of writing. So for example, Harlem by Langston Hughes, or this poem, Her Kind by Anne Sexton. There's a lot of anger and bitterness in the poem. So the effect of rhyme there, I think, is to make the reader feel uncomfortable. Now, there's this thing, slant rhyme. Slant rhyme is when you have, I'm looking at this first blank here. Slant rhyme is what you get when you have end sounds, like sounds at the end of a word or the last emphasized syllable that aren't exactly the same, but they're similar. That's this blank. They're similar. So like rhyming been with again or been with seen. So it's like they almost rhyme, but not totally. The effect this has on the human ear is it makes the brain feel tension or irritation The ear doesn't like it. The ear is expecting a rhyme, and then you give the ear this almost rhyme, which actually is sometimes what it's called, almost rhyme. And then the ear is like, stop, just give me regular rhyme. So when you see slant rhyme in writing, it always has the same effect. The effect is to add tension or to add irritation. Here's an excerpt of a poem by Lady Lazarus, a poem called Lady Lazarus by Sylvia Plath. She's the same author who wrote Nick and the Candlestick, that one that we talked about that said, old cave of calcium icicles, old echoer. She writes a lot of dark stuff. I'll tell you that because we are doing literature, we get to say HE double hockey stick when it appears in literature, so get ready. So here's a section from this poem. And notice these words in italics, some of them rhyme and some have slant rhyme, and the purpose is to make you uncomfortable when you read it. Dying is an art like everything else. I do it exceptionally well. I do it so it feels like hell. I do it so it feels real. I guess you could say I've a call. It's easy enough to do it in a cell. It's easy enough to do it and stay put. It's the theatrical. So she's going, well, hell, real, call, cell, cull. It's like a fly buzzing around your face. Like, oh, we're going to have rhyme. Well, in hell. Oh, wait, not really. We're going to have slant rhyme because now she's saying real and now she's saying call. And then she's saying cell. So it's like, oh, we're back to rhyme again. But then she's got cull and it's like, oh, we're not rhyming. She's trolling your ear. As a poet, she's messing with you. It's to make you feel annoyed. And the purpose is to try to create in you the tension and dark emotion that she feels in the poem. Like if you look at the content, she's obviously upset. Right? Here's one more example. This is the most famous poet associated with slant rhyme. If you open a new Google tab and type in slant rhyme and then the letter E and the letter M, Google will suggest slant rhyme Emily Dickinson. She is the most famous slant rhymer of all time. She was like emo poet of the 1800s. And in the 1800s, it was considered especially sort of necessary that your poetry had to rhyme. So if you didn't make it rhyme, that was kind of scandalous. And here, Emily Dickinson, this woman hiding out like in her attic, writing these super dark poems, would like consistently not rhyme. And on purpose. I got my child in the background here listening to me. Hello. And the purpose of that was to express the tension and irritation and darkness of what she was feeling in her heart. So here she's got this poem, I heard a fly buzz when I died. And then look at the italicized parts. These are the parts where she should be rhyming, but she isn't. She's slant rhyming. I heard a fly buzz when I died. The stillness in the room was like the stillness in the air between the heaves of storm. So you're expecting it to be like room and but instead she does room and storm. The eyes around had wrung them dry, and breaths were gathering firm for that last onset when the king be witnessed in the... And your ear is expecting something that rhymes with firm, like but instead she says, be witnessed in the room. Which is particularly annoying because she started with room. That's the word that started this whole slant rhyme mess in the first place. Third stanza, I willed my keepsakes, signed away what portion of me be assignable, and then it was their interposed day. You want it to rhyme with be, but instead she says fly. Oh, no. So again, she's defying your expectation, and it has the effect of annoying you. And then in the last stanza, she actually uses perfect rhyme. And it's almost like she's saying to the reader, I'm perfectly capable of rhyming. It's not like I don't know how to rhyme. Hello. I'm just not going to because you're not the boss of me and you can't make me do anything I don't want to do. So there. So here's this last stanza. With blue, uncertain, stumbling buzz between the light and me, and then the windows failed, and then I could not see to see. So she ends with some nice, pretty rhyme. Like, take that. I'm just going to rhyme when I want to, not when you tell me to. So, to sum up this whole set of notes, rhyme almost always adds beauty. If rhyme is in an angry poem, it will add beauty, but in a way that has a creepy result. And slant rhyme always adds tension or irritation. That's it. Have a good one.